What's up, you guys? Adam here with Anabolic Climbing, and today it's time for the first Natty or Not on the channel in honor of Zhao Yicheng's world record time on the speed wall and unseating Sam Watson, both in competition and from the world record. It's time to ask, do we think Zhao is natty or not? So, if you guys like these kind of breakdowns and speculations on pharmacology at the highest level of climbing competition, please hit that like, subscribe, and alert. It helps the channel out tremendously. If you agree, disagree, please leave your comments down below. And now, let's get into a little bit of table dressing. So, first off, I want to say, do not, and I want to repeat, do not go and harass, contact, or reach out to Zhao. That's completely unnecessary. At the end of the day, he's still 16. I am not calling Zhao out directly in any meaningful way. I'm going to make that clear in some of my arguments. He is 16. I think that that's way too young to be ascribed any level of malice. And instead, I just want to paint you guys a picture of some of the tactics that exist within the Chinese team. And I'll let you guys come to your own conclusions based off of the data that we have on Zhao. But again, do not contact him, do not harass him. And whether you come to the conclusion that he's natty or enhanced, we still need to recognize that this kid is a generational talent, and what he has done to the sport of speed climbing is utterly incredible. And even if he is on the Sazul, which I have an opinion on, obviously, there's a lot of other climbers in the speed scene that are also on the Sazul that are not going sub 4.6. So let's talk about it. So in general, just so you guys know, it's pretty common for women in sports like gymnastics or even climbing to reach pinnacle levels before they're 18. In gymnastics, they actually had to move the age of competition back from 13 to, I think, 15 or 16. Because the smaller girls were sweeping up everything. That's not the case for men. In general, since the 1960s, no man under the age of 16 has gotten a gold in a solo sport. Hasn't happened. There has been one track player named Quincy Wilson who basically took gold in the 400-meter 4x4 relay. But again, that is not as a solo athlete. And he was, I believe he did 6th in the 400 meter later on when he turned 18. Yes, there have been exceptions to younger male climbers, but in the case of Serato, Enrico, and Tommy Caldwell, who have both won IFSC championships or IFSC competitions at age 16, I want to make the distinction between bouldering and sport and speed. Sure, you need to be outrageously talented at both, but there is a difference in ballistic strength required to beat older people in speed that does not exist where the strength-to-weight ratio is potentially more beneficial in bouldering or lead. Not only that, but how quickly you develop matters. If you guys remember Tommy's career in particular, he was winning competitions at 16 and then struggled as he started to mature and his strength-to-weight ratio began to change. That's not the case with Zhao, who basically at age 14 was already fully grown. And sure, at least right now, we don't know of a Chris Sharma figure for Zhao, which is another reason why Tommy got out of competition, but it bears mentioning. So let's do a little bit more discussion about Zhao in particular. Number one, he's the only 14-year-old on record to go sub 5 seconds. He's the only 15-year-old on record to go sub 5 seconds. He has been fully grown since at least age 14. I do not have prior footage of him younger than 14. And we're going to look at some of his footage from the beginning. And last but not least, he has been outside of the international testing pool until this year. It's possible that he's had some sort of testing at some of the regional Asia youth games, but we do not have any data to support it. WADA does not have any testing data. I do not have access to any of the Chinese testing data. They have not disclosed it. But based off of what I've seen off the IFSC, he was too young to be in the international pool prior to this year. So some of these numbers are a little bit long. I believe Rahar GT, oh God, I'm sorry about that. I believe he's from either India or Indonesia, is 25. But in general, let's take a look at all of the other ages of speed climbers with sub 5-second records. You'll notice that none of them have been able to do it sub 18, with Sam Watson being, I believe, the youngest outside of Zhao to go sub 5 seconds at age 18, and I think Zach Hammer did it at 19. For the most part, though, he is the youngest on this bench by far, and I believe China have a total of 5 members on their team that are sub 5, all in the 16 to 18 range. None of them are sub 15 or 14 years old. It just doesn't happen. So let's get into it now. This, you guys, I'm sure, have seen the viral clip of our boy Sam Watson getting utterly smoked by a full 0.1 second over Zhao. It hurts. It hurts to see. On any other day, this is a world record for Sam Watson in competition. And here we are with Zhao basically taking it. Just so you guys know, Zhao is, I believe, 1 inch taller than Sam. And I want us to sort of pay attention to where his height is in comparison to when he is younger. Right here, we're seeing very similar height. It's hard to see because of the angle. But this, in September 2024, nearly 2 years ago, this guy is running his first sub 5 in his, I believe, his first adult competition. Bananas. Coming out of the gate, still at age 14, running sub 5. I don't know if you guys can see that. It was a 4.932. Holy smokes. And here he is at age 15, running a 4.656. I'm going to play the clip. There's going to be 2 of them. But 4.656 would have been the world record last year as well. I believe up until that point, 4.67 is the fastest Sam, I think, has ever run in competition. So, again, this 15-year-old putting on a world record clinic, not to mention he was fully grown at age 14 running sub 5. That raises a couple of questions. So, do we expect power athletes or speed athletes to peak at age 14 to 15? No. In general, for guys in particular, the older that they get, really from 20 to 28, is when they tend to hit peak levels of athleticism. Sure, we could have the discussion over strength to weight ratio, but realistically speaking, most of these guys, as soon as they begin to mature a little bit, is when they're able to have more additional power. Not only that, the more time you have in the gym, the more powerful you can become. Now, I have friends that have trained with the Chinese team that says point blank, look, these guys are putting in dramatically more training volume than the Americans, the French, the Australians, and I'm going to believe them. But that still doesn't change the fact that even versus his own peers who are older than him and have had more time to mature than him, this kid is still an absolute phenom. So now we got to ask ourselves, how did this young man peak so quickly to be at world-class levels at age 14? I have some of my own opinions. Let's go back to some of the data on the Chinese teams in particular. So ChinaDA, which is the Chinese anti-doping agency, denies whistleblower claims of a doping cover-up. Because in '98, when their swimmers were going to Australia, There were vials of human growth hormone in their swimmer's bag. The 4 swimmers in question during these games all tested positive for clenbuterol, basically a way of staying a little bit leaner. Additionally, going through even more recently in the 2021 games, the Chinese swimmers tested positive for termetazine, which I believe has the potential to upregulate endurance. It's on the WADA ban list. Seeing them having a preference for fat burners, for endurance boosters from the team level, I'm not saying it's a proof of guilt, but it certainly suggests a pattern. None of the swimmers were suspended. In fact, 13 went on to compete in Tokyo, 6 of which won medals, despite the WADA agency's own rulings on public disclosure for public tests. Interesting. Again, not proof of guilt, only showing a pattern here. All I'm saying is China has shown willingness to cover up for their athletes, not surprising. Willingness to leverage pharmacology at the team level. And by the way, running compounds to drive endurance is another thing we even see in the weightlifting community as well. Lu Zhao, who's an incredibly prolific weightlifter, is appealing his ban for an out of competition EPO failing. But again, that is another mechanism to increase the body's capacity to transport oxygen and increase stamina and endurance. To do that both in competition, or to do that out of competition, so that you could peak in competition. Let's compound that with the fact that Zhao Yicheng has been out of the testing pool up until this year. There's several compounds, such as GH, which could have hypothetically allowed him to reach physical maturity for his height growth, so that then and as well as given him the ability to pack on some additional tissue and strength gains, and the fact that he's continuing to maintain power even toward the top of the route, where he seems to eke out Sam. I'm not saying definitively that he's using cardio boosters or has used GH in the past, but given how quickly he was able to mature, pack on that tissue, be ahead of his athletic peers even compared to his own teammates, I think a pattern is worth considering. I am not going to ascribe any malice to the guy in general, but if you ask me what are the odds that the team was doing something like that, especially since they started recruiting heavy during early COVID, personally, I would put it at like 70 to 80%, personally, is my opinion. I will leave it up to you to decide. With all that said, we've basically highlighted how this kid is utterly dominating people well above his age. He's reached physical maturity dramatically sooner. It certainly seems like something could have happened to accelerate his maturity. With that said, do not contact or harass Zhao. Please don't. We should obviously cheer for him. Anytime anyone does something where they beat the best in the world, it's worth admiring, and it's incredibly impressive. I also, like I said, believe that there are other speed climbers that are also hitting the sauce that are not nearly as fast as Zhao. And we got to give that kid his flowers regardless. I am in awe of what he's been able to accomplish. I will be following his career very, very closely. But yeah, that's the first natty or not for the channel. If you guys disagree, if you think I'm an asshole for saying this about a 16-year-old even though he's a world record holder, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'm Adam with Anabolic Climbing, wishing you guys good luck and happy sending. I'll see you in the next one.